So now that we've dispelled some of the myths that comes to land investing, what I want to do is I want to take a few moments here and spend some time with you and actually go over the benefits of land investing. And a lot of people understand that land investing is lucrative, but they tend to think of it only from the idea of basically two different investment strategies. One is, buying larger parcels, acreage, things like that, and developing it, or the idea of land banking, buying something now and holding on to it so that it's going to go up in value over a number of years, and then they'll have an investment that way. And in reality, those are things that can be done and things that we do, but they do not make up the vast majority of our business. And so, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go over 10 different benefits of land investing. We're not going to spend a lot of time on these. In fact, in the previous videos, I've already mentioned some of these a little bit, and we're just going to kind of hit them quick and go over some details quickly with them so that you can see the different benefits that exist when it comes to land investing. So the first one's one that I've already mentioned, and that is that it has a low barrier of entry. And so the way that we started in land investing, and the way that a lot of my coaching students have started in land investing, and the way that a lot of people start in land investing, is simply buying cheap properties. There's tons of properties around the country that you could still buy for under $1,000 and sell for thousands more. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to buy a piece of property for $500 and sell it for $50,000, but there's tons of properties that we have done and that others are doing that are buying them for $500 and selling them for $5,000. So if you're looking to get started in real estate investing and land investing, it has a much lower barrier of entry than other avenues of real estate and allow you to make great profits and grow your business from there. A second benefit is that it has low maintenance, if any. In some cases, there's some maintenance on a piece of property if you own it for any amount of time. We've had some properties that we've owned for different reasons for extended periods, and those properties are in cities, and we've had to hire somebody to go out and mow the lawn or something like that. But generally speaking, most of them just sit there and that's it. Nothing needs to be done. So there's low maintenance on that. Along with that is our third benefit, which is low holding costs. So when it comes to houses, obviously there's different things that you have to do to keep things up, and there's holding costs involved with owning it. A piece of land, there's really nothing except for taxes. You have real estate taxes. So if you own the property, yes, for the time that you own it, you'll have to pay the taxes. If it's in an HOA, you'll have the HOA fees. But you have to remember that these are just pieces of vacant land. So generally speaking, the values are lower. That means that the taxes are lower as well. So a lot of the properties that we own, our holding costs are simply $30, $40, $50, $60 a year for the real estate taxes. So it's low holding costs. Another benefit is that when it comes to actually buying the properties, that the closing costs are also low. Now you may say, well, how is that the case? How can land have a lower closing cost than other forms of real estate? And the bottom line is it's because they're simple cash transactions. And so all that you're paying for is a title search and that transfer. There's no lender fees, there's no origination fees, there's no points, there's none of these other things that you have associated with normal closings, perhaps for like when you purchased your own home or maybe some other sort of investment property. So because of that, our closing costs are generally well under $1,000 for a piece of property. Now, sometimes they're over that, depending on the value of the property and where it's located. But compared to a house where it's in the thousands, we are generally below that in most cases. A fifth benefit, I've talked about cash flow, people saying that as a myth that it doesn't cash flow. Well, I'm actually going to swing it the other way and tell you that land can actually cash flow better than a house. And you may sit there and you may say, how is that possible? A house brings in whatever amount of rent, but again, you're only looking at the dollar amount, not the profit amount. So you might be getting $2,000 a month in rent on a house, but if the mortgage is $1,600 and then you've got other holding costs and things like that, you may be left with basically nothing left. And in some cases, it is nothing. I know plenty of investors that are basically doing it for the equity and for the long term, and they have somebody in there and they're basically just having a wash right now, and down the road, they'll have this equity in the house and it'll be worth something, but they're not making anything on the rents at the moment. Well, when it comes to land, remember, we're buying these for cash, and often the price that we get from our buyer will cover our purchase price, the purchase price that they give us, the amount that they give us in the down payment. So that means everything that we make, if we're making three, four, $500 a month from them, off of that, it's all profit. Everything there is all profit. And if it's not right away within a few payments, it will be. So you can actually see based on that how land can actually cash flow better than homes. Another benefit is little to no competition. I already talked about that. Yes, there's people out there, there's people like me, there's others out there that do this full time, but compared to other avenues of real estate, it's really much, 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 much lower. Probably the lowest amount of people doing this compared to other things out there. The other thing that's involved with land that's great is there's less legwork. We have bought and sold over 1,000 properties over the years, and we have literally not gone to see hardly any of them. We've gone and looked at a couple of them, but basically it was just because they were nearby. It was an area that we were thinking about actually using the land to build on or something like that, but that was it. In most cases, we don't go see the property. The vast, vast, vast majority of those over the years, we have not gone and looked at the properties. And not only do we not look at them, we don't send anybody to look at them either. So there's less legwork involved, and that's just one example of that being the case. The eighth benefit is a huge one, and that it is easy to scale this business. The things that I teach, and you hear me all the time, if you're in our Facebook group, if you've watched anything that I do, the things that I focus on all the time are consistency and volume. So you can easily scale by just staying consistent in this business, reaching out to people each and every week. And then when you're ready to grow, you just simply pump up the volume and you reach out to more people, and that turns into more deals. So it's a very easily scalable business. The ninth benefit that I love is that it's not time sensitive. Right? When you're looking at a house and somebody calls you and says, "Hey, I'm interested in selling your house," you better close them right then and there, right? That's not the case with land. It takes us oftentimes a week or two to get back to sellers. They don't care because nobody else is pushing the buttons. And the same thing is true with buyers. Buyers reach out to us and say, "Hey, I'm interested in this." And you can't speak to them right then and there. You reach back out to them the next day and say, "Hey, you reached out about this property." And they're like, "Yeah, I was taking a look at it." And you have a conversation with them. Whereas again, with a house, even if it's a buyer, they've probably moved on and found a different one. So it's not time sensitive in that you need to jump on things like you do with houses. And the final benefit that I'm going to talk about, number 10, is that sellers simply don't care about the properties in most cases. There is no emotional attachment to it. When it comes to somebody selling a house, a lot of times they have an emotional attachment, right? I remember this happened there, or this happened there, this event happened here, whatever it may be. With land, that simply isn't the case. In fact, it's completely the opposite a lot of times. We've heard people over the years tell us, "I got stuck with this stupid property that I don't want because of," and whatever the reason. So the emotional attachment to land isn't there. If anything, it's more of an emotional aggravation to them. So hopefully you can see through this very quick synopsis here these 10 different benefits of land investing and how it stands out as different. So continue on here as again we continue to build on this and help you to really get into land investing.